There's something quietly poignant about the moment a familiar face disappears from a sofa you've spent years watching them occupy. It doesn't always arrive with fanfare or dramatic music. Sometimes it's just a name, a headline, a quiet confirmation that the television landscape is shifting beneath your feet while you're still holding your morning coffee. That's the feeling many Good Morning Britain viewers carried with them when news broke about who would be stepping in to fill the seat left behind by Ben Shephard. And if you've been following Ben's journey, from his warm, effortlessly likable presence on GMB to the significance of his move toward This Morning, then you already know this wasn't just a scheduling announcement. It felt like the closing of a chapter that a lot of people weren't quite ready to let go of. Ben Shephard has always occupied a particular space in British breakfast television. He's the kind of presenter who makes complicated mornings feel manageable. There's an ease to him, a naturalness, that doesn't perform warmth so much as simply radiate it. Viewers noticed that. They always do. And when someone like that moves on, even towards something exciting and deserving, the gap they leave behind carries its own emotional weight. So when Good Morning Britain revealed who would be stepping in, the reaction online was immediate. Some viewers were curious, others were nostalgic before the transition had even begun. A few were genuinely excited about the change. And that combination, that cocktail of feelings, says something really interesting about how audiences have come to invest in breakfast television in a way that goes far beyond simply watching the news. Good Morning Britain isn't just a news program. It's a morning ritual. It's the voice in the room while people are getting dressed, making lunches, trying to convince children to eat breakfast. The presenters aren't just delivering headlines, they're company. They're familiar. And so when the lineup changes, it almost feels personal in a way that's difficult to fully explain but almost impossible to dismiss. The announcement itself was handled with the kind of measured warmth you'd expect from a show that understands its own emotional relationship with its audience. There was no cold corporate statement. There was acknowledgement. There was context. And many viewers noticed the care behind that, the way the show seemed to understand that its audience deserved more than just a name swap. They deserved a proper introduction to whoever was stepping into this space. What struck people watching wasn't just the identity of Ben's replacement, but the atmosphere surrounding how the news was delivered. There's something revealing about the way a television show handles its own transitions. It tells you how they value continuity, how they think about their audience, and how deeply they understand the chemistry that makes breakfast television work in the first place. And the impression many viewers came away with was that Good Morning Britain was approaching this moment thoughtfully, not defensively, not hastily, but with the kind of editorial care that long-running shows sometimes forget to maintain. Of course, viewers online were already forming their interpretations the moment the announcement landed. Social media conversations ranged from enthusiastic to sentimental to genuinely analytical. Some audiences began wondering whether this transition signals a broader shift in the show's identity, whether new presenting combinations might bring fresh energy, different dynamics, new on-screen chemistry that eventually becomes its own beloved thing. Because that's how it always works, isn't it? The combination that once felt irreplaceable is eventually followed by a new pairing that audiences can't imagine not having. There's a possibility that what viewers are really responding to in moments like this isn't change itself, it's uncertainty. The not yet knowing whether the new dynamic will carry the same comfort, the same reliability, the same quality of presence that made mornings feel grounded. That's the invisible thing audiences are actually mourning when a favorite presenter moves on. Not the person exactly, though of course, them too, but the feeling that person reliably created. And yet, there's something equally compelling about the beginning of something new. Ben's move toward This Morning is significant. It's a different kind of television, slightly later, slightly softer, arguably warmer in format. And it almost seemed as though many viewers watching the GMB announcement were processing two emotions simultaneously, a quiet goodbye to one chapter and a hopeful curiosity about the next. That's a remarkably nuanced response for a breakfast television story. But then, These shows carry more emotional weight in people's lives than the television industry probably ever fully accounts for. The person stepping into Ben's presenting role will carry with them the unspoken weight of audience expectation. Not expectation that they'll be Ben, because that's not the point, but expectation that they'll understand the responsibility of that sofa, that time of morning, that particular kind of trust viewers extend when they invite a program into the most domestic, unguarded moments of the day. What makes breakfast television uniquely demanding is exactly that. The audience hasn't fully woken up yet. The defenses are down. They haven't decided how they feel about the day. And the presenters, the good ones, meet them in that vulnerable, half-awake space with warmth that feels genuinely human rather than professionally manufactured. Earning that trust again, with a new combination of voices, is a quiet and underappreciated challenge. Many viewers will give the new lineup exactly the same thing they gave Ben when he first arrived: a chance. A morning's patience. An open morning. Because that's the generous contract audiences have always had with their breakfast shows. Change is noticed, grief is real, but familiarity is also built, not born. What lingers, perhaps, isn't the announcement itself. It's the questions underneath it. What kind of energy does this new chapter bring? What chemistry will develop? What mornings will feel lighter or heavier because of who's sitting in that seat? Television, at its best, makes you feel less alone in the morning. And whatever comes next for Good Morning Britain, that's the standard the audience will quietly hold the show to, not consciously, not with criticism ready, but with the gentle, hopeful expectation of people who simply want to feel accompanied as the day begins. Maybe what viewers are really waiting to find out isn't who replaced Ben Shephard. Maybe they're waiting to discover who, in time, replaces the feeling. Drop your thoughts below. What does this transition mean to you, and what are you hoping to see from Good Morning Britain's next chapter?